Welcome to our Politics Podcast. I'm Claire, and I'm joined today by Alan.
Hello, I'm Alan. Today we're discussing several key political stories that have emerged recently.
Let's start with the news from the Middle East.
Iran has denounced recent U.S. strikes, characterizing them as a sign of bad faith and unreliability. What context do we have around these strikes?
The U.S. military carried out strikes in southern Iran on Monday. Iran responded on Tuesday, condemning the action amid ongoing negotiations to potentially end the war.
So the timing of these strikes is particularly sensitive given the ongoing negotiations. How did the U.S. justify these strikes?
According to the reporting, the U.S. military described the strikes as targeting specific military objectives. However, the exact details of these objectives haven't been specified.
I see. And what's Iran's stated position on these negotiations? Are they willing to continue talks?
Iran has indicated a willingness to continue negotiations, but has warned of consequences following the U.S. strikes. The country's officials have expressed concern over the U.S. actions, viewing them as undermining trust.
That makes sense. Trust is a crucial element in such negotiations. Moving on, what's the latest on the discrimination lawsuit involving former NFL coach Brian Flores?
The Supreme Court has decided not to intervene in the discrimination lawsuit led by Brian Flores against the NFL. This means the case will proceed to trial.
That's significant. What were the NFL's arguments for why the Supreme Court should intervene?
The NFL wanted the case to be handled through its arbitration process rather than going to trial. The league argued that the matter should be resolved internally.
And Flores's lawsuit alleges what exactly?
Flores alleges discrimination in the NFL's hiring practices for head coaches. He claims the league has systemic issues that disadvantage black candidates.
The Supreme Court's decision not to intervene suggests they believe the case has merit to be heard in a lower court. Is that a fair interpretation?
That's correct. By refusing to intervene, the Supreme Court is allowing the lower court's decision to stand, which means the case can proceed to trial.
Let's move on to another story. There's been a significant development in the Middle East conflict.
An Israeli airstrike on a village in eastern Lebanon has resulted in the deaths of 12 people. This follows Israel's authorization of more intensive strikes targeting Hezbollah across Lebanon.
The situation is escalating. What do we know about the Israeli military's justification for this strike?
The Israeli military has called up more troops to Lebanon, indicating a potential further escalation. The official justification hasn't been detailed in the reporting.
And how has Lebanon responded to this strike?
Lebanon's state-run national news agency reported the strike, highlighting the civilian casualties. There hasn't been a detailed official response from the Lebanese government in the available reporting.
The situation is clearly volatile. Let's discuss another domestic political story. There's been a significant development regarding redistricting efforts in the U.S.
The Congressional Black Caucus has called on major U.S. corporations to oppose Republican-led redistricting efforts that aim to eliminate majority black U.S. House districts.
That's a critical issue. What specific actions are these corporations being asked to take?
The Congressional Black Caucus is urging these corporations to publicly oppose the redistricting efforts and potentially take other actions to support voting rights and racial justice.
Some of these corporations have previously expressed support for voting rights and racial justice. Is that being seen as a test of their commitment?
Exactly. The Congressional Black Caucus is calling out corporations that have previously made statements supporting these causes, asking them to back up their words with action.
Let's touch on the Texas Senate race.
Texans are voting in a runoff election to choose the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate between Cornyn and Paxton. This race has drawn significant attention due to President Trump's endorsement of Paxton.
Trump's endorsement is seen as a test of his influence within the Republican Party. How has the campaign been characterized so far?
The primary has been described as bitter and expensive. Trump's late endorsement of Paxton was seen as a significant move to shift the race in his favor.
And what are the implications if Paxton wins? Would that be seen as a boost for Trump's agenda?
A Paxton victory could be interpreted as a sign of Trump's continued influence within the Republican Party. However, the general election dynamics could be different.
That's a good point. The general election could bring new challenges and variables into play.
As we wrap up today's discussion, it's clear there are several complex political stories unfolding. From international conflicts to domestic political races, these issues will continue to shape the political landscape.
Indeed, and we'll continue to follow these stories closely in future episodes.
Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, I'm Claire.
And I'm Alan. Goodbye.
I think we've covered all the major stories for today.
Yes, it's been a comprehensive discussion. I think we've given our listeners a good overview of the current political climate.